And welcome back to the show, everybody. It's potluck time. This is the part of the show where each of us brings a story to the table, just like you would bring a dish to a potluck dinner. Rick Unger, you're our lead chef.
So, I've kind of spent a career writing terrible things about Walmart because they didn't have the shirt I wanted. No, because they have never paid their employees the way that they should. And this has always been a problem. They're a huge employer, and I think they have just a huge impact on hurting people. But today they announced they are raising their base pay from $7.50, which is the current legal minimum wage, to $9 in April, and then to $10 next February. And I wanted to call them out and give them some credit for that. Now, it's not all about finally deciding they're nice people. It's much more about the fact of what it tells us about the job market. What they're coming to understand is that there are better jobs out there. I've heard so many people say to me, hey, if you don't like your job at Walmart, go get a different one. Well, the truth is you couldn't, but now you can. And that's why they're starting to raise their prices. But either way, I'm glad to see it. I hope the nation will follow suit and raise the minimum wage.
Ellis, I have a feeling that you agree with Walmart's move today.
Well, yeah, and I recognize the cynicism of it, right? This isn't because they love their people. I mean, they're still fighting unions. They're still squeezing their vendors to the screaming point. But yeah, it's a very positive thing. It reflects the economy is getting better. And you know what? Some of those protests and some of those objections that have been raised by Walmart employees and their representatives actually are working. Go Costco, by the way. They did a better job.
I'll maintain the fact that some of the Walmart employees just aren't worth more than minimum wage.
Well, but that's why they're doing it. They want to have better employees.
So, well, hopefully you're right.
If you don't pay somebody a livable wage, you're right. You're not going to work that way.
And you know, we're the ones who pay for that eventually because they're back on food stamps. They're not having proper health care. We're paying for it.
When they threw everybody off of health insurance, where did they go? They went to Medicaid.
Exactly.
Who pays for that? We do. So you have this wealthy corporation. We're picking up their bills.
We see some video on here now, and you see a lot of posters that say $15. $15
I'm for it.
You'd go all the way to $15.
Well, for a very simple
and
reason.
then pay $12 for a cheeseburger.
Well, no. The problem is that as it currently stands, even at $10 an hour, you come below the federal poverty level. If you're working full time, you should not be below the federal poverty line.
But here's the issue with that is, at what point does it become less expensive for the companies, as they are doing in Connecticut now, to replace that employee with an LCD screen or technology that is never late, doesn't have an attitude, and doesn't have an error?
You know what? You're right about that, but you want to know something? For years, we've all talked about it was science fiction. Someday, technology will replace us. Well, we have to quit pretending that it didn't happen and learn to adapt to it. The reason it's going to happen is not because we charge too much money. It's because it's time for that to happen. Let's be realistic about it and solve the problem by training people to do jobs where it can't be a screen.
I just wonder what kind of precedent this will set as far as other large companies are concerned. Because we saw that with CVS and they stopped selling cigarettes, and then other pharmacies followed suit. Walmart, obviously one of the big boys out there. We'll see what other large companies do as well. So our second course, Carl, go ahead.
The State Department's comment on jobs, and then the poverty line of why ISIS is why ISIS is actually as terrible as they are, is because they don't have jobs, and we need to understand them and give them employment opportunities. I think is the biggest load of BS I have ever heard. And if I've ever thrown anything at my television, that was the night I did it when I saw that, and I couldn't.
Wasn't an HD.
It was a nice cut. Fortunately, it didn't break, but it was what was left of my sushi.
Because you would have had that issue with your wife we were talking
Exactly.
about.
Elvis used to shoot his screen.
Elvis did.
He did, right?
I have a neighbor, so if it goes,
Yeah, good point.
Well, you have were a lot fatter in those days, so
right.
they can handle it
I would
better.
imagine you have very good aim, though, so you wouldn't hit them.
Yeah, I mean,
But go ahead.
the fundamental issue here is goes back to any version of nation building or anything. Terrorism is in fact because of the Islamic radical wing of the Muslim ideology, and it's not because they don't have jobs, and that's a real insult to all the people under the poverty line here in America, less making minimum wages. I mean, are they going to go out and strap a bomb on and blow themselves up? No, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. She should be fired.
Actually, Jen Psaki,
really feel?
Jen Psaki, who you went to school with, we understand, actually got a promotion today, and she's going to be the White House Communications Director. So I have a feeling that
right?
Marie Harf probably will be promoted as well, just by.
Get used to
There
it.
she is now.
Fantastic.
Looks like she'll be running a pledge class over at Kappa Alpha Theta in Lehigh. But hey, she's
Yep.
she's moving up the food chain, no question about it.
I bet you she was pretty popular there in high
Yeah,
school.
let me
huh?
let me comment on your. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong because obviously, look,
Thank
if,
you.
if anything proves your point, it's the fact that a huge percentage of the 9/11 terrorists
Yeah.
came from families that were millionaires. So
And we're highly educated.
and we're highly educated. So I agree. However,
Right.
you can't. As I said earlier, it's not mutually exclusive. Look, if you grow up poor and you don't have any self-respect, a good way to get it is to put a gun in your hand and convince yourself you're fighting for a noble cause.
Right.
So what they're proposing is not a bad thing. It's just not the only thing.
It's not realistic.
Well, it's
Let's
only
be
partially. Yeah.
And we see that in America, actually, in so many inner cities, right, guys, where unfortunately have used joining gangs because it's they want to be a part of something. Anyway, up next we have more potluck. That's right, including mine. So it's time for Yay and Nay after that as well. This is the fun part of the show, and this is the Daily Wrap. And it's only on Newsmax TV from Chile, New York City. Welcome back to the Daily Wrap, everybody. It's still potluck time, and we have another newcomer, Ellis Hennigan. What do you got?
Nice to be here with you guys, by the way. Very
I'm having
spirited
fun. I'm
group,
having
right?
fun.
Friendly atmosphere.
Where do you hide the shy people?
Shy people. We don't need no stinking shy people.
I want to stand up for fat kids, if I may.
You may, being not a fat kid.
It
of
is.
your own.
I was reading in the Lancet, the British medical journal, as I so often am in the afternoons. I always like to peruse the Lancet, as you know.
for you.
But the fascinating story, 6-part series, has just begun today, and I'll recommend it to everybody. That points out that all the things we have been trying lately against childhood obesity, which is an epidemic, I don't have to remind you. Now 1/3 of American children are either overweight or obese. They're not working. We try and talk them into eating better. We suggest better things. The Lancet scientists have gotten together and said there really is one thing that's going to work. Tax fast food exorbitantly. Let's do the same thing to the fast food restaurants that we've done to the cigarettes that Rick used to smoke, and actually make it so that fast food isn't so cheap and appealing to families. And give, you know what? If you need to give them extra money to buy the healthy food, do that. But let us help American families make that choice right. We will save young lives if we do it. You go Lancet.
Wow. What about middle class folks that eat it sometimes? I mean, should they be penalized? Folks
you know
like
what?
you or me that are actually somewhat thin.
If we eat it once in a while, it won't be such a big penalty.
Yeah, but I
the
don't- that-
problem
that's a-
is that we eat it all the damn time, and
think-
those poor kids are doing it and killing themselves.
You can't. This is an attempt to legislate personal responsibility, and I think that the issue here is not that we should tax fast food, but look at gym classes. Nowadays, you have little Johnny's too fat, so everybody has to play cards instead of playing football like they used to 20 years ago. I think it's a societal devolvement, and also the fact that if you're fat, we're supposed to accept you for it. Guess what? If you're fat, get on a treadmill, get off in April, and then you're fixed.
Here's the problem with it, though. I mean, I like this.
I like societal development. I have to say that was pretty
Exactly.
good.
Here's the problem. The sermons aren't working, right? I mean, when these numbers just keep going up and up and up, and we pay for it. It isn't just that the little Johnny is being made fun of at Greenwich High.
but they hold
It's
everyone
that-
down to it, so
it's
it's-
that all of us pay the huge health costs.
Can we call it the McDonald's doctrine?
I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
I like that.
McDonald's doctrine.
I'm good with it as long as we can call it that.
And let's charge $20 a Big Mac. What do you say?
Can you name the ingredients in a Big Mac?
How much will the fries
To
be?
all
Special-
beef
special
patties,
sauce,
special
another
sauce,
sauce,
lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a
sesame
sesame
seed
seed
bun.
Bonji, you've been eating too much of it. Clearly, it's
Boom.
going to cost
Boom.
you, buddy.
We're
We're going to tax
gonna
your
cost
fast
Can I
food.
tell you, I only eat it once a year, and I always get the Big Mac.
It tastes good, right?
I haven't
Oh,
had
it's
a
tremendous,
McDonald's.
but there's such regret
I'm a Wendy's
afterwards.
guy.
A Wendy's
It
guy?
just-
Wendy's were good.
So much more fat in it.
Yeah.
What's that?
Wendy's.
Yeah, I don't go Wendy's. The square burger thing just doesn't
Actually,
quite do it
if
for
you're
me.
going to do it, In-N-Out Burgers on the West Coast.
Boom.
Shake
Say no
Shack,
mo.
my
Yeah.
friends. Shake Shack.
Yeah.
Yuppie.
Anyway,
I don't eat it fast food anymore.
Good.
And I'm still fat.
You're eating into my mealtime
so
right
sorry.
You just
I'm
got to
so sorry.
Nonsensical
come to the gym
talk.
with me, Rick.
What you
We're
got,
good.
man?
now. Anyway, so I had a potluck tonight, and during commercial, I wanted to make sure that the potluck was still relevant because it was kind of a fluid story. So on Mediaite, that's the website that I write for, we reported earlier today that our sources said that Joy Reid on MSNBC, 2 p.m., was going to be canceled. However, Ronan Farrow was going to be able to keep his job. Now, what made this interesting was that Ms. Reid, albeit these numbers are both low, but her numbers were slightly better than Mr. Farrow's. Both were horrible, don't get me wrong. And just 2 weeks ago, Ronan Farrow got 11,000 in the demo. That's a very hard thing for a network with MSNBC's reach to do, where only 11,000 people between the ages of 18 and 54, or excuse me, 25 and 54 in the cable world, were actually watching. So when I heard that Ms. Reid was getting fired, but Ronan was keeping his job, I said, boy, MSNBC has a problem on their hands, because they're firing the higher rated person, who happens to be an African American, but they're keeping around Ronan Farrow, who may or may not be the son of Frank Sinatra. So sure enough, during commercial break, I checked, and yes, MSNBC has axed Ronan Farrow. See, we break news on this program.
But
Isn't
not
that
Joy
nice?
Reid?
Joy Reid is also gone.
By the way, I think you may be the first person to call him Mr.
Mr. Farrow?
He's like 12 years
He's
old.
a little,
right?
yeah.
He is 26 years
Mr.
old.
Farrow.
He was.
Yeah.
He doesn't exist any longer. So.
So he's wiped off the
Yeah,
map.
yeah. So I guess what we have to do here is turn into a panel discussion and a eulogy to Ronan Farrow, who now, since the media guy, I can tell you, Phil Griffin, the MSNBC president, met him for 20 minutes and said, "That's my guy." No experience whatsoever, even community access he didn't have, and they gave him an hour of network television. Ellis, 10 seconds.
I'm jealous.
Quick enough, Carl.
I mean, you guys give me airtime, and I had virtually no experience either. So
You didn't host a show, however.
Shows. No, I'm
true.
kidding.
Right.
It's-
Rick, you
thanks,
go on
Frank.
MSNBC
Now,
sometime.
you know what? Here's the reality, folks. MSNBC is screwing it up because they won't admit something that I will gladly admit. The people who watch cable news are old like me. And they're not going to watch Ronan Farrow, who is 19 years old.
Particularly at 1 o'clock in the afternoon when they're either in class or they're doing something else.
It's
right?
just, they're kidding themselves.
That's true. So, okay, well, you heard it here first, guys. The 1 and 2 o'clock shows on MSNBC. Joy Reid at 2, Ronan Farrow at 1. Gone.
Are we all going to go rush?
But we're
to
still
get-
here. After the break, it's time for Yay or Nay. Stay tuned. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax TV.